Hi, this is David with, oh god, entry number 27, 28, 28, maybe 27. I keep forgetting. So today was Saturday, didn't have class, didn't have anything to do. So what did I do? I basically just stayed around this area and walked, and I think everyone was gone, so there wasn't really, I couldn't really hang out with anyone, so it was just kind of me making my own thing up. Yeah, I thought I would maybe talk about this book. Was introduced to me by my friend while I lived in China, and it was written, I think, originally around the turn of the century, the last century. Nope, it wasn't. Written originally in 1936 by a man named Dale Carnegie, and he was basically like the original, or one of the original self-help gurus. American man, self-made. No, yeah, I think he's self-made. Basically, held seminars just like today's self-help gurus do around the country, and promoted all of his books, but mainly the philosophy that he entails in this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And you really should read this book because it's really good. But I would say that the main meat, if I was to distill this book into a few sentences, or to paraphrase it, is the main takeaway lesson is to always, in dealing with people, that's how he phrases it, dealing with people, never make other people feel like they're at fault in any situation. So that means basically accept all the fault on your own shoulders. Of course, if it's a glaring or very serious situation, I'm thinking something like criminal, you probably don't want to accept the fault. But if it's a social situation, like jobs, like friends, like family, about 90% of the time, I would say, he says to accept fault on yourself, not on other people. Don't make other people feel like they did something wrong. Don't make other people feel like they're stupid or foolish or they've made a mistake or something like that. Always put it on you. Other things he says are, be genuine. Be genuine. People can tell if you're being fake or false. Always try to seem genuine, or be genuine, even better. Be genuine. So if you say something, mean it. Don't just say things. I got into a rut right after I read this because people always ask, like, when you meet them or when you see them, how are you? And I always had trouble with that because I never felt like I was being genuine, because before I read this book, and to some extent now, I was very logical, very rational. Before I referenced it as lizard brain, because I have trouble asking people how are you after they ask me, because I didn't care. I wasn't genuine, and I didn't want to be disingenuous, so I wouldn't ask. And I learned to be curious and actually want to know about how people are doing. So yeah, I would say, also always learn people's names. Use people's names. It makes them feel good about themselves. Excuse me. And it's better. It makes them feel more personal with you if you use their name and not just say you or hey or what's going on. Just say their name first. Jerry, how are you? You know, Bill, how are you? Sarah, Michelle, how are you? Use eye contact, you know. Some things we all know. Actually, I would say everything in this book we all know already. We all know it. There's nothing you'll read in here that is earth-shattering. You know basically everything in this book already. What this book tells you to do, or what this book is about, is explaining why it's important to do what we already know. That is, you know, to be polite, to be courteous, to be kind. We know these things, being raised in Western society. But how often do we do them? And while you're reading this, while I read this, I had an epiphany. It's like, of course, this is so obvious, but why am I not doing this all the time? You know, you feel foolish, because it's so easy, and it works. It really works. And I've been trying to use it here in Korea, and it worked pretty well. There's a few things that I might get into later that don't translate culturally, but for the most part, it's pretty much a one-to-one kind of culture, at least in this book's concern. So yeah, I think the biggest takeaway though with this book is what my first point in always accept the fault. Always accept the fault. Don't allow people to feel stupid or dumb or silly or foolish. It's always on you. Even if it's their fault, it's on you, because if you're the boss and your employee makes the mistake, you're the boss. You're in charge. You were supposed to look after that employee and make sure he knew what he was supposed to do, or she. You know, it's not. You accept responsibility for others' faults. And I think that's really one of the biggest if not the biggest takeaway of this book, is just don't make people feel dumb. And you know, for me personally, that was hard, very hard, because I don't intentionally, like I think I've said it before, I don't intentionally say things to hurt people's emotions. From my perspective, before I read this book, it was always, don't you want to know the truth? If you're going to say something, wouldn't you rather say things correctly? Or would you rather say things that are false and spread falsehoods? To me, even now, I don't say things unless I know they're 100% true. So when I hear, or when I heard, sometimes when I still hear people say things that are false, like they're true, it starts to, irk me a little. And a lot of this book is, just be quiet. You won't mess things up, usually, if you're just quiet. Or just swallow your pride and just say, okay, yeah, I could see that. A lot of things that I've tried after I've read this book are things like using I a lot. The problem with that is that when you use I a lot, it makes you seem more cocky, because you're using I. I think, I know. But the good side about using I is that you're not using universal language. When you use universal language, I think it's a little more offensive than saying I, because universal language, you're assuming that you are already correct and that everyone knows it. And if everyone knows it and the other person that you're talking to doesn't know it, that's where they can feel foolish or dumb. You don't want that. When you use I, they can disagree with you more freely. And then if they disagree with you, say, oh, I could see that way too. And make sure you say that genuinely, because if you say it sarcastically, that's not going to help at all. So yes, this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is an amazing, amazing book. I've read it through twice since I've been here. Read it through about 5 times back in the States, and I'm gonna probably, let's see, it's about 7 o'clock, 10 to 7 now. I'm probably gonna head to a cafe after I film this and read it again, because it's easy to read, and there's lots of really fun anecdotes and cool historical things you learn when you read this, and it's just a really well put together book that I obviously recommend it with extreme prejudice, with extreme recommendation. I don't know. I think it's good. It'll be a good book to read. So yeah, thanks for watching. This has been entry number 28, I think. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, which is Sunday. Bye.